Hey guys, what's up? Hunter x Hunter chapter 414. It's actually Saturday today, so I don't know if the chapter got released earlier or maybe I just made a mistake because I thought, you know, the new chapters would come out every Sunday, right? But yeah, before I'm going to start, I just wanna, make a channel update if you even going to call it that, right? But yeah, so basically, you know, as you have seen, I basically have, you know, only Hunter x Hunter content, basically the last few videos, right? So before that, the plan, I didn't really have a plan, right? It really just started with, it was more spontaneous, right? I didn't really have a plan on making videos, right? It's just a hobby I have just to have fun, right? So basically, what I had was if you guys know about crossover, it's basically an app, right? That basically allows you to, play some games and other stuff that you couldn't basically do on, on Mac, right? That's basically what I have. I don't really have a, great setup and, mic and so on. I don't really have all that stuff, right? You know, usually in a perfect world, I will start, making videos on, if I had a perfect setup and a perfect place to record and so on. But yeah, it's better now than never, right? So basically, yeah, basically what I was saying, right, was I had a free trial on the crossover, app, but basically the free trial is over now. So basically, I can't really make, you know, even if gaming content, if you can call it that, right? So yeah, so the plan maybe is to maybe buy it, right? And then I can, continue making the videos or wait and buy a new PC, right? That can run the games on its own, right? So I don't really have to rely on the app, right? So yeah, that's really what I'm thinking about. So before all of that, in between, I'm just going to have, make these Hunter videos, right? And I don't really have, a specific time or schedule and so on. I just do it whenever I feel like to do it because, yeah, I don't really have to force myself to do it, right? It's basically I'm doing it for fun. That's basically what I'm doing, right? So, yeah, let's get to it. I remember last time it was basically Benjamin, this guy. He basically went from level 15 to level 100 very quickly, right? Because all of the Nen, they basically glitched the game, right? Because this guy Furikov was like, and I'm interested too, like, because how much planning did this take? The Furikov was like, after he got the order from, his mom and so on. Was this guy, did he plan this right after, or was he like a whole night? He spent the whole night just thinking about what the fuck should I do, right? Yeah, that's crazy. He was beyond child and yeah, and last time one thing I got confused on was like when Benjamin was saying all of the crazy stuff with like I'm going to become the guardian and peace for the future generations and so on. I thought he meant it like metaphorically, if that's the correct word, right? I didn't know he meant it literally. So this guy's going to become a fucking basically a god, right? Basically an NPC that can't die. So yeah, let's get to the chapter. Friends and room 1007. Basically the Seven Prince room, right? The guy that basically supposedly poisoned, Fugetsu or the other one. I can't remember the names, right? So yeah, there's a guy sleeping. I'm guessing this guy's his god, right? What the fuck? Bro, he put his hand on his mouth so he couldn't scream, right? What the fuck? And yeah, I think this guy is one of Marina's people, right? They're basically going on to kill everybody. I'm guessing that's him. But yeah, Jay basically went up his bed and just killed him. Whoa, this is it. This is blood rushing, skin tingling. What the fuck? He's putting the pillow on his head. Haha, mashallah. Yeah, so basically this guy is just using his chance, right? 5 minutes till the order is given. How the fuck does he know that I'm going to slaughter anyone that resists? Man, I'm way better off fighting than getting bogged down by details. How the fuck does he know? You know, is he Benjamin first? Benjamin's one of Benjamin's scouts. Is he with Marina? I can't really remember. No, he's with Benjamin, right? Because that's basically the guard's outfits, right? Yeah, I'm going with that because there's no way Marina and her people know. And yeah, the whole guards again. Hey, something's going on with the first prince soldiers. Yeah, so basically he's one of the first prince soldiers. You can even see the outfits. It's basically the same, right? Let's tell the prince. Yeah, so basically, now I understand. Yeah, basically one of he's one of the first prince guards, right? And they basically going on to kill everybody. Yeah, Rice entering. Let's tell the prince. The prince is asleep right now. I'll hear what you have to say. I'm awake. Hand me some water. I'm thirsty. Two of the first prince soldiers are outside room 1009 with their auto rifles. There might be something going on inside the quarters of the late Ninth Prince. Oh, so it's finally starting. This guy's fucking big. What is special martial law? Treating Hockenberg's death as the result of a terrorist attack, or maybe they would go with the narrative that Hockenberg himself was behind the attack. This guy is smarter than I thought. Give this direct order to all personal guards, absolutely no resistance. Tell them to give up their weapons and put them in one place. Once martial law is declared, they will shoot first and ask questions later. Damn. How the fuck do you ask questions later if they're dead, right? Tuk Tuk, he's signaling something. Benjamin's shoulder is busy. They're not supposed to lay a hand on members of the association. Any excuse will do. I assume he's asleep right now. If they're on the move before martial law is even declared, they must already be notified by radio. Hurry, don't leave him. Don't let him leave the break room. Order to all personnel: dispose of all the drugs in the master's bedroom. Put them in a pot or something and burn them immediately. Rice, come here for a second. Was with the issue with the dope already settled with the Ministry of Justice? Once special master law is in place, the military runs the whole show. What's bad will be bad. If it turns into military rule, they can just use the innocent as guilty, can they? So what's the point of? If it's the prince's order, so stop questioning it and get a move on. This guy was caught. Oh, why did it kill him? It was in self-defense. He attacked me first, and he was sleeping. Put the weapon down. I want you to explain what happened. Based on the details, a judicial investigation may become necessary. I've got no problem putting the weapon down, but weird who's investigating who here. Damn, they both know Nen. Basically, the first fight in the special martial law, right? These two random people enter the gods. No response if someone is inside. It will be considered an act of treason against the royal army. The sweeping strategy under special martial law is progressing far more quickly than expected, but that works to my advantage. My ability to kill target with a combination of N and my stinger ball is suited at all for group fights between N users. Another fucking guy with another fucking ability. Inside my N, I'm practically defenseless. Just letting a person enter it already a huge risk for me, since I can use skill at the same time. Damn, so you can see other people having Nen and so on. Even a Vulcan Crumb from handgun could prove fatal. And when I'm surrounded by people who might be Nen users, with no way of knowing who's a friend or foe, just maintaining my N is a mental feat in and of itself. Damn, the further I extend my Nen, the more likely it is to clash with other Nen users. If I run into my automatic if I run into an automatic attack ability that activates the second someone uses N or Q, or if someone does a duel where one maintains N while the other fires emitted N bullets, I'm probably as good as dead. Damn, so this guy basically has no defense. That association member Kurapika, he's adding fuel to the fire and giving the enemy more Nen users. And this point is getting nearly impossible to keep my stinger ball attached to the prince without the other guards discovering it. If all I had to do was to detain and monitor a prince by themselves, my ability will be at its most effective. But even if we detain them under martial law, there's no need for my ability at that point. In other words, my ability is no longer needed in this succession contest. Damn. The moment it declares we're moving in, Roger. And that's why I teamed up with Chiamashi, what the fuck? I'm not even pronouncing his name also. Are you ready for this? Of course. Damn, they're combining their abilities. Shiamashi's ability, Lord of the Flies, Muda King, Manipulation. How the fuck are you coming up with new abilities? It's fucking crazy. By maintaining physical contact with a volunteer for a set amount of time, you can make that volunteer invincible for the same amount of time. What if a person uses skill they can't even see him? Once the period of invincibility ends, the volunteer is put into a force Zetsu for a period 100 times longer than that of the invincibility. Additionally, as soon as the Zetsu is lifted, the volunteer receives a recall from their own aura by taking damage equivalent to a third of all the attack that were nullified. Damn. So imagine somebody attacks him while he's in that state. He just knows he's going to be fucked up after. But it's not really a problem for him to be in Zetsu, right? Because basically this guy's, also already defenseless, right? So that's not a problem. The problem is the recall he will get, right? However, symbiotic type attacks from multiple Nen users working together cannot be blocked. Using N, I was able to confirm that one person is inside the room. Depending on the total amount of damage nullified, I'll die once. Damn. Depending on the total amount of damage nullified, I'll die once the invincibility ends. So basically, if he gets attacked by multiple people, he's also gone, right? When Queen Obito fainted at the same time as Kurapika, I realized it when I changed his diaper for the first time. At At the time, I was indeed confused on Flutter's house. However, as I looked at Prince Opal, no, I shouldn't say Prince anymore. As it looked like, as I looked at the baby's face, to be honest, and forgive me for saying this, it just doesn't matter anymore because it was my duty as a servant to look after the two of you. I carried on working as usual. So basically, she knew before, right? That said, I'm concerned about the real Prince Robel. Of course, I imagine she is in a safe place, but after all this kind of treatment, what kind of treatment will she receive? There's one thing even I don't know. It's likely dependent on which prince remains at the end. If Kurapika, if what Kurapika said was true, if it's not settled by the time we disembark, is it likely that all the remaining princes will be spared? Before that, we have two major issues. The first is beyond curse. If the curse activation condition is officially participation in the succession contest, then at least Prince Wobble isn't affected. On the other hand, if in the worst case scenario, if the activation activa- activation condition turns out to be participation in the seed earned ceremony, then he's fucked, right? That's entirely possible, isn't it? Normally, it will be unthinkable for one to undergo that ritual and then not participate in the succession contest. On top of that, if the curse meant for a newly born prince wasn't finished in time and it had to be activated some other way after the ship was boarded, a curse on this baby instead, is that even a possibility? Yes. The truth, the truth is, shortly after we entered these quarters, I sensed what felt like a surge of near the prince. I had my back turned, and it was only for a split second, so there's no way of knowing its true nature at this point. Yeah, and basically seeing that, you will think it was his Nen beast, right? But basically, this baby doesn't have one. It may, it may have been the Nen of the assassin whose true identity is still unknown, or the Nen of one of the first Prince soldiers. As for the exact conditions that activate Beyond's curse, the only way to confirm them is to ask Beyond himself. Bro, Beyond is the type of guy that'll say, I don't even know myself. I could use my chain to extract Beyond's ability and learn its mechanics, but the conditions needed to activate the curse must be quite difficult. If I couldn't clear them in time, I will die. That'll be just suicide. The realistic option is to negotiate terms with Beyond, but there's absolutely no way the Karking side will release him from custody, and Beyond himself doesn't want to be released. At the end of the day, it's in the interest of both sides that Beyond doesn't make a move until we reach the continent. But the fucking ship will be destroyed by then, man. Yeah, besides, I doubt that he will even admit to being the one behind the curse itself. Kurapika. Besides, I doubt he will admit to being the yeah. Why the fuck will he admit that, right? But can he use the light detector ability? But he can't force people to say yes or no, right? Kurapika. I think you already realized it, but there's one stu- stipulation that he will definitely accept. And what the fuck is that? You're talking about the Honda Association granting Beyond a pardon. Is that it could be like something with this guy Beyond planned all of this, right? To get released by Kurapika. Who knows? But this guy's fucking buff. The fuck? Shit. Look at his forearms. The fuck? Exactly, if the restraints from the Honda Association are gone, you'll jump at the chance. That can't happen if it was Chairman Nestro's final order is out of the question. Wasn't the chairman's order to come back from the new continent with the solution to the calamities? If you coordinate well, it will be a win-win for both sides. No chance there's the contract with the V5 too. We can't go as so far as to drag the entire association into this. We're starting from the premise that Beyond is willing to use even his own children as pawns to achieve his ambitions. There's no way he will reveal anything about the curse that's the crux of his plan, and even if he did cooperate, it will mean it was most likely a trap. Ooh, which is why we'll set our own trap in return. If you can, if we can make a good use of the woman's ability, don't you think we could put it off? We could discreetly slip in an ability clause into Beyond's contract or make use of the penalty for him breaking it. There might be a way of we could think it through. Bill, aren't you supposed to be on Beyond's side? Why will you go this far? Damn. Jeez, man, I'm glad you aren't on Beyond's side. Basically, he's working for Beyond, but after everything I heard about what Beyond has done and what he's planning to do, no way I'm loyal. No way I loyal enough to keep working under that bastard. Is he faking it or is he telling the truth? But you once set your mind to do something, you're the type to see it through to to the very end. That's a common villain trait, actually. Impressive as usual. No way I'll hang with you outside of work, though. That's not exactly flattering. My goal has shifted completely to protecting the queen and the prince, but now I'm starting to waver and wish for more. Queen Oito and the others are obviously my first priority, but what if there was somehow a way to stop the succession contest altogether? Damn, there's so much text. The whole thing about the contest limitation is I bet the Hunter Association will be on board. Not a single hunter wants to see people killing each other. Besides Hisoka, the only ones who will fear the limitations of collapsing and losing the Guardian Spirit Beast protection are the current king and the diehards out there to inherit his authority beyond and the higher ranking princes. I think it would be worth it if the association united to stop Beyond's curse, weaken the Kakin monarchy, and bring forth the clean princess's icon of the new era. The V5 will surely approve if we have the righteous cause of saving the princess from being hostages to a curse. Besides, the term for releasing Beyond don't have to be permanent. He can simply be arrested again on another charge. What matters most right now is dealing with his curse, isn't it? And this curse is being, hyped up. What even is his curse, right? Because it is the curse basically, you know, killing one of, let's say one of the, let's say for example, Furikow's curse, right? Let's say it activates on Beyond, not Beyond, Prince Benjamin. Does that mean either that Benjamin will die in his Nen Beast too, and Furikov is still alive, or Furikov will also just, die? And who even says that people are going to die, right? It's basically just a curse. It could be anything, right? I know Beyond better than you do, so hear me out. Since he's capable, confident, and really just a kid who loves strategy games, he will accept your challenge and he won't turn down a game of tag either. He'll talk about the curse because it's the crux of his whole plan. No, he's actually want to discuss it because he's so confident in himself. Damn, And that confidence is backed by a meticulously crafted scheme. That's what makes him so troublesome, which is exactly why the entire Hunter Association needs to stop this succession contest. Hmm. Why is this guy so serious all of a sudden about it, right? You still haven't explained the second major issue. Oops, my sincerest apologies. The second issue is that even you, your majesty, do not know Prince Wobble's location. I don't know what agreement was made between the two of you when your children were swapped, but you believed it was better to remain unaware of her location for the prince's safety, right? Yes. If you truly have no idea what the prince is, that means you also can't rule out the possibility that Prince Wobble is somewhere aboard this black whale. That is possible because how the fuck was if he's a part of the contest, he has to be inside the whale, or else he's dead, right? Oh, that's some that's something like that surely can't be true. The question is though, how will how will we how we will prove that to the military. At the very least, the first Prince faction won't have discarded the possibility. It's likely they have already begun their own search. But look, if the first Prince, he was talking about having a child, right? I don't know if there's multiple children he has, but let's say he has a child, right? Is the child on board of the ship, or is the child somewhere else he's talking about, right? Because you know because there is a possibility that there's the real Prince Opal and the other one, right? It wouldn't really. I don't think it will be a possibility that the other kid is just a random kid, if you get what I mean, right? Because it has to be tied to some other character, the baby, right? So let's say one of the princes or Prince Benjamin. But I think if she was truly honest, right, she would have just told that you know this baby is Prince Benjamin's baby, right? Why wouldn't she tell Kurapika that she's already been exposed, right? And she basically trusts him right now, right? So, but Prince Benjamin was also talking about having a baby and so on. But if he really had the baby on the ship, right? Wouldn't it make sense if he was, protecting the baby more or thinking about, the protection of the baby, right? Because he announced martial law and so on. So, basically he made the ship basically pure chaos, right? I'm not saying pure chaos, but it's bound to happen, right? Because it's not like his guards comes into other princes' room when the princes are like, "Oh, you got me." They will fight back, right? So yeah, and people are also saying the baby had two different hair colors, I think, or hairstyles. How the fuck didn't Kurapika notice that, right? Or maybe he was too focused on something else. There have been frequent murders in the lower tiers, and a full-scale investigation is underway. There have been frequent murders in the lower tiers, and a full investigation is underway. They should have rechecked every passenger's data and ID cards. Yeah, I asked Peon to cross-reference passengers under 2 years old. Damn, so they're looking for him right now, but since she hasn't gotten back to me, there are officially no measures. But if it is Prince Wobble, I think they will do a better job at hiding his identity, right? I'll have her expand the age range and search again in case they're using a in case they're using a false identity. If you still can't find him, then they aren't aboard the ship, which means, or maybe somebody is using some kind of let's say they're on the ship and somebody's using some kind of nano ability to protect his identity or something, or maybe it's an end beast. He basically has one, right? So maybe his end beast is protecting his identity some way. I'll prove that she isn't participating in the succession contest, right? No, we will never be clear to suspicion, right? Yeah, that makes sense. Right now, the princes are not just going to fucking listen to, you know, they basically don't give a fuck now. They're just basically going out to kill. But why? Hey, Kurapika, you don't have to be so blunt. Why is this guy so protective all of a sudden and at Queen Oito, right? There's no point in trying to hide it. In fact, being under suspicion actually works in our favor, huh? Since the baby swap was carried out deliberately, the military will act assuming the plan puts them at the greatest possible disadvantage for them. That means Prince Warple is still eligible to participate in the succession contest and is somewhere aboard the ship. They will continue to operate under that assumption until the possibility is completely ruled out. The best outcome we can hope for in completely ruling it out is either one, the organizer, the current king, officially declares that Prince Warple is not participating. Yeah, that makes sense. Or two, is proving that Prince Opal is off the ship. Not finding the Prince Opal aboard the ship does not prove that she is outside it. Let's say that Prince Opal is a part of the, succession battle, right? And the baby is outside the ship. And let's say how the fuck are you supposed to kill him, right? Because all of the princes in this ship, even though one of them is only one survivor, right? The ceremony will not, you know, be finished until, basically they kill him, right? In the second case, they'll also have to prove that anyone who leaves the ship during the succession contest forfeits their right to participate. Participation in the ceremony is the condition for obtaining the right to participate in the contest. Proving that it was your sister's son who took part in the ceremony on the ship is not feasible. And even then, they can dismiss the possibility that the real prince took part in the ceremony, was then swapped with your sister's son, and somehow escaped the ship. As long as these possibilities are ruled out, I feel like this chapter is like 2 times longer than the last one, right? As long as these possibilities aren't ruled out, the high-ranking princess will have to assume that Prince Opal is aboard the ship. And found even if she found outside the ship, they will still have to prove that a prince who has the right to participate forfeits that right by leaving the ship. So that means until my daughter is found, they will neither admit that she isn't participating in the succession contest nor hold her accountable. Exactly right. Until Prince Wobble is located, the higher ranking princess active in the succession contest will remain suspicious. In other words, they will have no choice but to keep searching until she is found. And in order to become the sole survivor, they need to confirm once for all when a Prince Wobble has the right to participate in the contest. All, all, all that to say, as long as she is not on the ship, Prince Wobble is invincible. Damn, the high, but that's the high-ranking princess can neither find her nor confirm whether has the right to participate. What was there time? Nah. Assuming things remain in the gray area, she'll inevitably, what the fuck, inevitably, what the fuck, fall lower on the list of priority targets to eliminate in the succession contest. But if she's really is a target of Beyond's curse, if she's outside the ship and her location is unknown, there's nothing we can do. Damn, that's true. Yes, and there are two ways to solve that. So let's say she's still part of the contest, and the only way to eliminate her is by the Beyond's curse, right? Because how the fuck can you reach her all the way over there, right? First, we must unravel Beyond's curse and determine whether or not Prince Wobble is one of its target. If she is indeed a target of the curse, we must immediately identify Beyond's Rindland, the curse offerings, and lift the curse. Second, we must discover Prince Wobble's location. As far as the succession contest goes, being outside the ship in an unknown location makes her invisible, but when it comes to the curse, its opposite is true, right? If she's turned out to be a target, we must find the prince as quickly as possible and seek the guidance of a skilled exorcist. There's one fundamental problem with lifting the curse, but the approaches to solving it are completely different. So I separated them into two categories: severing the source of the curse or removing the curse from its target. At present, we don't have time enough or manpower to pursue both approaches simultaneously. Therefore, I believe we should work towards the first solution. It also aligns well with fulfilling Longi's contract. However, we also need to act assuming that the worst case scenario is possible, that we can prevent it. To resolve the second issue, we will proceed under the assumption that Prince Opal is a target of the curse. I'll therefore like to ask the Hunter Association to search for their prince, that we can protect her and attempt an exorcism. Okay, that's too much information for her. Finally, just to confirm, Queen Oito, we established that you truly don't know Prince Opal's location, but in actuality, in an event of emergency, just in case, wouldn't you have arranged a person or place to contact if something were to happen? She knows something, right? Damn, all the fucking text makes. I'm already dizzy by all the text. There really are something else. Kurapika doesn't overestimate his own abilities. Even after uncovering several troops, he never jumps to the conclusion that he's found the whole truth. And the queen also understands that staying in the dark is her final and greatest weapon, which is why even after coming this far, she remains silent. The worst case scenario for us is that Prince Wobble is both on the ship and one of the curse's targets. If we at least knew where the prince was, we could enlist the support of the hunters back on the mainland. That's true. That could be something Kurapika and Gon could do, right? Kurapika and Gon shop. And that's basically how we see it again, right? Would you please tell us, before I learned about the curse, the worst I imagined was, once the next king was chosen, the royal army will find my daughter Wobble and execute my entire family. Or so I believed. It's clear, as we saw with Prince Kacho, that withdrawal from the succession battle is grave crime, punishable by death. It's just as you said, Kurapika. Since my confession can still be interpreted as a deceptive strategy to survive the succession contest, we won't be punished by it. But the very moment our right to participate in the contest is proven invalid, we'll become criminals. Our hope had been that Prince Wobble will survive, Prince Hawkenberg, will survive and become king, but now all we can do is pray that my daughter isn't cursed and trust your hypothesis on succession limitations. If the Hunter Association is willing to protect her, there are people within the association with all kinds of agendas. They're reliable, but I can honestly ask you to trust every one of them. With that said, this much I can affirm. I have friends that I trust even more than myself, my life on this. Bro, it's fucking Kurapika and gone. Nah, not fucking Kurapika. I mean, Kilo and gone, bro. I fucking predicted this shit. What the fuck? Knowing them, they'll they'll definitely protect the prince. What the fuck? So how the fuck? Bro, what the fuck? Is that the way they'll come back? Kurapika and gone, what the fuck? But what is even their job? Is there some fucking other enemy on the, you know, there's still the Royal Army, I think. Maybe. They're still left behind in Karkin Empire, right? So basically their job is fucking... What the fuck? So basically two plots are going on at the same time, right? What? What the fuck? Bro, how the fuck did I predict that shit? What the fuck? Bro, that was a fucking long time ago. Shit, man. What the fuck? A relative on my mother's side works at... Bro, what? So let's say their job is to protect the Prince Warble, but what the fuck would... Who will they protect it from, right? Will there be assassins sent to kill him, right? And that's their job, right? But who the fuck is left on the world, right? All of the characters are in the ship. And will they find a way to connect back to Kurapika? Let's say they land on the new continent, Dark Continent, Succession battle is over, right? Will they have to bring Prince Warble to them, so they basically will have their own ship? What the fuck would go on? What? A relative on my mother's side works at post office in Yamato. We can send first letter. We can first send them a letter containing a code and then have them process it as return to Karkin Mark's address unknown for a fee, which lets them forward to his sender's address written down in Yamato without leaving a delivery record. So basically they'll send a code. We can use this. We can make use of this. What the fuck? 49 days remain until the end of succession contest. So basically they will have to protect Prince Warble for 49 days, right? What the fuck? Bro, this is so fucking... Who would have thought? Bro, it's so fucking unpredictable, man. It's crazy. You can't fucking know what's going to happen, right? Who the fuck would have thought of that shit? And even next chapter was will the next chapter be focused on Gon and Kurapika? Will it be back to Prince Benjamin, or will it be back to Kurapika? Will it be back to Hisoka and his fucking, or Krollo, or what the fuck, or Hawkenberg? What the fuck is going to happen? And will it go back to Soraitnik, or fucking we will see Jaro again after a long time, or what? What the fuck is going to happen, man? The fuck. But yeah, I don't think there was anything I misunderstood in this chapter, at least. But what the fuck? Yeah, man. Maybe I'll make a video on it again next time, but yeah.